The main theme within Mark's gospel is servanthood. He's going to emphasize Jesus as the suffering servant. You know, it's interesting, the Jews had a theory of two messiahs. They looked through the Old Testament, they saw a Messiah that was the suffering servant. They called that the Mashiach ben Yosef. They also saw the ruling king, the Messiah ben David. And they thought there were two messiahs. They didn't realize those were two roles of one Messiah. And Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri, the most venerated ultra-Orthodox rabbi of them all, shocked the community by leaving after he died. He left word that the two messiahs are one. He recognized that. But we're going to focus on, in a sense, the Messiah ben Yosef, the servanthood. And one cannot escape the feeling that we have in this gospel, the antitype of the servant of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. It's not strange that this servant emphasis, this remarkable blend of strength and submission, achieving victory through apparent defeat, should appeal to Peter. Sound like Peter? He knew victory and knew defeat. See, Peter himself was ardent, whole-souled man, I like that term, who knew both defeat and victory. Moreover, he himself had hired servants. We're going to discover in this first chapter, look at it. Peter had servants. Did you know that? He and his father had a fishing business. They had servants. And we'll talk about that when we get there. See, and now for years, he had been a servant of Christ. That's Peter's talking. That did appeal to him, and he became familiar with the early Christians. Can be seen from Acts 3 to 4 and so forth. Peter was a servant, and Mark picks up on all of that. But temperamentally, then, Mark seems to have been like Peter and his experience in a wealthy home. He grew up in a wealthy home. Mark, as a young man, grew up in a wealthy home. He understood having servants. He understood what the roles of servants were. That's why he calls himself Huperitz, the lowest of servants, of apostles in Christian service. Fitted him both to appreciate and record the character and doings of the perfect servant, namely Jesus Christ, the perfect servant of the Father. So Mark's going to have that focus, that emphasis, that perspective. Mark's focus is servanthood. And that'll be all the way through here. The key verse will be Mark 10, verse 45. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many, the ultimate service. So that's his summary of the whole thing right there in 10:45. We're introduced to the God who, in the words of Paul expresses it differently in the Philippians, the famous thing called the kenosis, who being in the form of God thought it not something to be grasped to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. That's Paul's description of Jesus Christ in Philippians 2, and it's so famous it has a name of its own, the kenosis, if you will.